Hello. This podcast is not for kids, but it is about science. It's a podcast where four friends get together and we try and tell each other stories about the world or how we found out things about the world that are so fascinating that someone else on the podcast will say, "Holy fucking science!" Hello, I'm Hank Green. I am your spaceship captain for the evening. In my spaceship, we've got three other folks on my spaceship made of couches. We're going to start with Victoria Bongiorno. Hello.
Hi.
Victoria is probably the quietest person we'll have had on the podcast so far. I'm not criticizing.
I'm not always quiet. I cannot be quiet.
What role on the spaceship would she have?
Communications. I was like Uhura.
Okay.
Because you're so quiet that you can hear things that are quiet.
Okay.
That's your special. No, I don't know. Weapons? What do you want to be? What do you want to do?
I'll do weapons.
Okay, she's on weapons.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. You can be loud, though, you said.
Sure.
When does that happen? Because it's not been around me.
Generally, it's when I'm like watching a Harry Potter movie and it makes me mad. Then I get like really aggressive.
Just go to a teacher! Like that?
No,
just
that's not what
go
bothers
to Dumbledore.
Me. We can't have this conversation.
Is it like, but that's not in the books? But why did you take all the good Norbert stuff out?
Yeah, it's more like, why are you so unfaithful to these characters and the story in general? Not all of them, not at all parts, but sometimes.
Yes.
Holy fucking Harry.
That didn't sound good. Well, additionally, on the podcast, we have Chief Engineer Michael Aranda.
I was hoping I was just going to be the android.
Man, that probably would have been good. You could be an android and an engineer, dude.
We don't want skin jobs on this.
I just want to feel human.
Do you just want to feel a human? Like, just touch one? Because I got skin. You can check it out.
For people who are watching the video of this, you're getting an extra special treat right now.
Well, the only person who got the extra special treat was me. How you doing, Michael?
Good, how are you?
You've been a host several times on Holy Fucking Science. Are you excited to be back?
I am.
Did you bring us an interesting thing?
I brought a thing that I think is interesting.
Me too. Hopefully it's not the same as mine. I always worry about
That's
that.
what
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day that happens when two people bring the same thing. What are we going to do?
Well, yeah. I mean, we try and control for it a little bit, but I don't think anybody sent anything to Lou except me this time.
No.
Come on, guys.
Okay. I talked to Caitlin about it. So. Okay.
Well, additionally, we have Stefan Chin, who is
away team.
He's wearing the red shirt on the away team. I was gonna give you first officer.
Oh,
but fine, you're on the away team.
Yeah.
I mean, the captain. This always bothers me about Star Trek. Like the captain and the first officer going down on the away team together. I'm like, this is the reason why you have a first officer.
Yeah.
So that you don't do that. Don't. But I see. It's a good show.
It's good for the plot.
Stefan works for SciShow.
Yeah, the thing I actually do.
What do you actually do?
Oh, work for SciShow as opposed to being the first officer on
a couch spaceship. Well, thanks for doing that. Victoria is our social media manager. Michael Aranda. I don't know. What do you do?
I do sound design for Crash Course and
You also
SciShow
do
Kids.
other stuff. You also have your own projects. We all do, to be clear.
I also am currently working on a geology series called Cape Tectonics.
Yeah.
And some other things.
And sometimes he tries to kill people with drones.
Sometimes I try to kill myself.
Only himself, yeah.
How's your finger?
My fingers they look pretty normal.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of feeling at the tips of them. So typing is now a little weirder than it used to be.
You'll get used to it.
Hopefully.
It's a thing that I say full of hope and no knowledge. Today on Holy Fucking Science, we have a topic. Who suggested this topic?
It was a group effort.
It was Caitlin. It's fitness. And I look around and I see three people who are definitively more fit than I. But I'm also older than all of you, so that's my excuse. So I assume that we want to talk about fitness just to make me feel bad. But if that wasn't the intent, that's fine. But it was the outcome.
We haven't even talked about it yet.
Well, Just realizing that fitness is a thing that exists and that I have not attained. And also watching my brother go through his whole fitness journey and see him become a person who is in good shape has been a bit of a reversal for the brotherhood. And now I feel like I'm behind.
We used to go to the gym all the time together.
I used to go to the gym all the time together.
I started going to that same gym again recently.
Well, maybe I should do that, except...
Sign on up. With all your free
Who has
time.
an hour?
With, having a child and all that.
I once said to Stefan, I don't understand how anybody gets and stays in shape. And Stefan said, it's about prioritizing it. And I was like, you're right. It's not a priority for me. Yeah. Whereas I think what you were going for was you need to make it a priority. And I was like, I will never do that.
No, I mean, I think that's the case for most things. Is like if you don't make it a priority, you're not going to have time for it.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Well, we have fitness, things about physiology and humans, and
It's not just fitness.
No, I couldn't find. Interestingly, if you look on the internet for fascinating things about fitness, it is 100% people trying to convince you of things that are not true.
Yeah. Bro science.
All right. Our arbitrary rule for the day is who can do the most push-ups goes first. Victoria?
I really can't do push-ups. I can beat all of you probably at a plank, maybe not all of you, but push-ups, I'm not going to win the push-up thing. 0.5.
I would
push-ups.
guess that Stefan or I would be the person to do the most push-ups.
You don't know for sure who it is,
doing
though?
push-ups for...
I can do 8. Can you do more than 8?
Do more than 8. Why don't you go first?
You go first, Michael. I think you could do more push-ups than Stefan.
Yeah. You're looking real good right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I can only see your forearms, but they're nice Android forearms.
Thanks. I just had them installed. So, what do you guys know about red blood cells?
I know that they don't have nuclei. I know that they have a dip in them because they shit out all their organelles when they're forming, and it makes them sort of concave. But that's not the case in all animals. There are some animals with nucleated red blood cells. They just aren't mammals. And I know, what else? I know that sometimes they're called corpuscles, which I think is a great word. And there's a song in, I think, an old movie. I can't remember which old movie it is. But it goes, I like big muscles and red corpuscles. I like a beautiful honk man. And whenever I think about red blood cells, I think about that line.
Good.
That's anybody else?
Nope.
So invertebrates' red blood cells are the main method of delivering oxygen to all the tissues in the body.
I did know that.
You produce about 2.4 million red blood cells per second.
Oh. Damn.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the average lifespan of a red blood cell is, anybody know?
On the order of weeks.
It's about 4 months.
Okay.
It's just under 4 months. But
because that's short for a cell, I think, right? Like most cells.
I actually am not sure.
I think they do.
The thing that I found that made me go, that's weird, is that in long distance runners, the average lifespan of a red blood cell is about half that.
Oh.
It's about 2 months. Why do you think that is?
Because they get used more, I guess. Anybody?
Keeping them fresh.
Does it have to be a long distance runner? It can't be a sprinter?
Long distance runners.
Only long distance runners.
Mm-hmm. Sort of. Mostly, yes.
Do you think we should know? You were waiting as if we're going to come up with the answer.
I don't know. I was just waiting to see what everybody said. The thing is, long distance runners are killing tons of their red blood cells by squishing them in the capillaries of their feet as they hit the ground.
That's cool. That's dumb. I'm like, this is why swimming. I'm not going to squish.
Oh no, too much pee.
In the swimming.
Yeah.
I thought I was stuck on red blood cells, and I was like, you don't pee out red blood cells, Stefan. They come out in the poop. It's why it's brown.
Good to know.
I guess we've known for a long time that athletes have a higher red blood cell turnover than people who don't exercise. But there was a study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology from 2003 where they wanted to figure out how much of that was just like exercise in general and how much of it was attributed to what they called foot strike, where you're squishing blood cells in your feet. So they were comparing non-impactful forms of exercise to impactful forms of exercise. And I guess when a red blood cell dies, it sort of spews out all its hemoglobin like a gusher being squished. Like is what is the term for hemolysis is the term for a red blood cell dying, and I guess the olysis is like rupturing.
Yeah, lysis is like a cut.
They fail mechanically, so they spew out all their hemoglobin. So one of the ways that they use to measure or infer the amount of red blood cells that are dying is by looking at the amount of hemoglobin that you have just free floating around in your bloodstream, not attached, not a part of a blood cell.
Yeah. That's a good way. Yeah.
So in doing these tests, they found that across the board, exercise kills off more of your red blood cells. But if you take cycling, there was about a 50% increase in the amount of free-floating hemoglobin in the bloodstream after that. Whereas with running, it caused a 300% increase in the amount of hemoglobin floating around.
Well, how are they getting squished in the cyclers? Just like in the blood, like in the heart, just heart valves going good and actually
you
catching
push
one.
pretty
Maybe
hard down on the pedals.
Maybe like pedal pushing, just in the groin.
The conclusion of this particular study was that they just said that other factors also contribute to cell death, but they didn't speculate as to like what else was killing them off. But accounting for other variables that they looked at, they came to the conclusion that foot strike was a significant contributor to red blood cell death in long distance runners.
What about people who try to hit their 10,000 steps a day?
Yeah.
Like, is walking...
The amount of force that comes down on your foot when you're running is significantly higher than walking.
There's some speculation in the chat, people saying, this is how we know that humans are meant to run this much. But it's not like it has a negative impact on their health. Like
so the impact that it has is that it's possible that an average American diet, does not contain enough iron to supply the body in its efforts to constantly rebuild red blood cells. So people who are training for marathons and running that much should be eating a diet that is very iron heavy or taking iron supplements. Otherwise, they risk anemia. But other than that, there didn't seem to be any like, oh, whoa, everybody stop running.
Yeah. I mean, you can get blood sucked out of your body for medical reasons, or, for just you want the Red Cross to have it for other people and feel fine the next day. So, like, it's not like you're good at making new blood and you don't want to do it every day. You don't want to just bleed all over the place. But surprisingly...
But it's okay if you do a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, not on my couch.
Okay.
So keep it in.
This couch or when I come over?
Either.
Both. Okay. Good to know. Taking notes.
Good.
But it's sort of fine as long as I eat like a beef liver.
Right.
Or something.
Well, that's what you do. If you chase down a cow and kill it, if you're like a hunter-gatherer and you're like running after a water buffalo, that's what the first thing you got to do is get that liver so you can replenish your blood cells after 6 hours of running after it.
Yep.
How'd you find that one?
I don't remember. Somebody told that to me, and I was like, that sounds fake. So I went and found the study, and I was like, oh, this is not fake.
Huh. Yeah. What about you, Stefan? I want to know if other animals have this problem, because like a lot of animals don't. We put a lot of force on a small part of our body, but like I guess dogs do too, and like a dog foot's pretty small, whereas a horse just like runs around on its fingernails.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I feel like we have a fleshier foot bottom than other animals.
Yeah. Though I put this thing on it so that I don't have to touch the foot to the hard place.
One thing that was in the study that I read was that the footwear had little to no effect on how much damage there was to the red blood cells.
It'd be interesting to know if just standing would do something. Because I know when I'm standing up, I'm like, you know what I'd rather do? Sit down.
I don't think it's because you're losing red blood cells.
Yes,
You're like,
you
I'm
don't-
feeling a little anemic right now. I gotta sit. Like, it's probably.
well, now that's totally what my brain's gonna say. It's like, I can feel my blood cells getting
gotta
squished
sit
in
down.
my shoes. There's so many of them dying. I can't breathe. It's good. That's a really good catastrophizing that now is available to me and all of our listeners.
Great. Am I going next? Is that the thing?
How many steps do you take a day? Do you guys know?
It's low. Because I was
just getting down here, like doubled it for the day.
Well, I was trying to do not like 10,000, but I was averaging like 3,000 to 4,000, and so I was like, okay, like I'm gonna try to beat 4,000 and just up my average for a while. I was doing that for a while, but then I just kind of fell off, and like as I mentioned earlier, like I haven't been working out that much either lately. But I like checked my like iPhone, and it was like 1,400 steps one day, and I was like, this is not good. This is not good.
Not a lot.
I'm letting it go.
Yeah, I've been trying to do a little more, mostly by
Yeah.
walking to the pizza place.
There you go. I got delivery.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
the
you don't
problem.
live really in walking distance to the pizza place. I've structured
true.
my life around being nearby to food
pizza
options.
access.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
true.
it's really good.
You've got gyros, right?
Gyros?
Euros?
Euros. Yeah. Sorry.
What are the? I've
mind.
heard so many ways of saying that word. That's just never been one of them.
No, I don't think I've ever said it that way. I don't know. Never mind.
What? How?
I just like it, the word popped in my head, and I was like, oh yeah.
That's what it is.
At least I didn't say gyro, right?
No.
I don't know.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, you're vegan.
I actually don't know what it is either.
Of the people watching in the chat right now, you can watch us stream these if you go to patreon.com/scishow and become a patron. And there's 40 people watching us, and only one of them has given us a thumbs up, which makes me feel pretty thumbs down.
We're doing a terrible job.
Yeah, right?
Do they have the option to give us a thumbs down?
Yeah, they could give us thumbs downs, but they haven't. No one has done
There you
that.
go. Then we should feel like
Right.
thumb neutral.
100% thumb up.
Yeah, exactly. Ratio's looking good.
Yeah, I say gyros because one time I was in a Greek restaurant and the person behind the counter was wearing a button and it said, it's pronounced gyros. So I was like,
Okay.
thank you. You're the best. Here's a tip.
I feel like I just try not to say that word.
All right. We just got a thumbs down.
No! Oh, God.
But we got like 16 thumbs up. Oh, the thumbs downer took it back. I didn't even know that was possible.
Oh, okay. He misclicked.
Okay, must have been a misclick. All right, thank you, Michael. We're going to move on to Stefan, who has something for us.
So, yes. So you talked about sitting down because you were killing too many blood cells, which plays into mine because I'm going to talk about sitting.
Oh. Am I killing blood cells by sitting? Is my butt also a blood cell murderer?
Possible.
I
And maybe if
bounce a
you
lot?
have like a really like bony butt, then maybe like
do.
I don't know. I've never.
Never measured? You never measured the hemoglobin content of a person's blood who's been bouncing on a yoga ball?
Oh, I was gonna say I've never checked out your butt, but
That seems unlikely.
but that's also untrue. Yeah. So. But anyways, so yeah. So as internet-y people, we tend to sit down a lot, and in fact, we're sitting right now, and like. I don't know, we have like a phrase like couch potato. Like most people know that like sitting down all day is not a good thing for you to be doing. But that tends to have been more focused around like lack of exercise rather than like sitting being its own like terrible thing that you shouldn't be doing. And there has been like in the past couple of years, I feel like there's been a lot of articles about like sitting is bad. But there's one that I found that made me go, holy fucking science. And so it was basically it was one study in 2008, and they were looking at TV viewing time in Australians 25 years old and up. And so they were using like TV time as like a proxy for sitting. And after adjusting for like age, gender, exercise, waist size, like smoking, all kinds of like dietary and health metrics, all the stuff. Their findings were that if you watch 6 or more hours of TV a day, that could cost you 4.8 years of life expectancy. Wow. And that was the main thing. Like they were trying to quantify like how many years of life am I losing from sitting?
I mean, first you got to say, like, not only are you losing 4.8 years of life from sitting, but you're also losing 6 hours of life a day.
Well, I mean, you're watching
spending
TV.
more time of less life to watch TV.
I mean,
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
say
saying
that's a bad thing necessarily.
Yeah, I guess
There's a lot of good TV.
there is some good TV, but not as good as like I don't know. There's some really good podcasts that you can listen to while you move, like
moving.
this one.
Yeah.
That's just great.
Oh, yeah. But you could also be sitting listening to podcasts.
Don't do it. Get up, walk around.
Not if you're driving.
Don't get up.
Walk around.
Yeah,
Driving, no.
I gotta get up, guys. My phone or my watch.
This man in my ear.
Yeah. But so to me, the part that was like the scariest thing was like, if you calculate all that out, it's like every hour of TV costs you 21.8 minutes of life.
Like actual life, like post-death.
Yeah, and compared to smoking, every cigarette is 11 minutes of life.
Which takes long.
So you could say that an hour of TV is twice as bad as smoking a cigarette.
How long do you spend smoking a cigarette?
Well, yeah, you
couldn't
could
tell ya.
totally smoke a ton of cigarettes while watching an hour of TV, which would like swing it the other way, I'm sure.
I'm going to Google the nerdiest things I've ever Googled. Like, how long does it take to smoke a cigarette?
That's the dirtiest thing you've ever Googled?
No.
Nerdiest thing. Okay. I was like, I don't believe that.
How long does it take the first thing is get to Mars, and then the moon, and then get a passport?
Those are all good questions.
Smoke a turkey? No, I want a cigarette. How long does it take to smoke a turkey? I don't know. Estimated
Like 5 minutes?
Like 6 minutes
Yeah.
to 20 minutes. Depends on how hard you suck.
Is that what it says?
No, I
Depends on how
I
hard
added that in. Also, imagine if you're smoking like a Virginia Slim versus like a big old fatty tobacco.
A fatty tobacco.
That's my new cigarette brand company. Fatty Tobacco. Yeah. Fatty Tobacco. And then you're just like, it's big fat cigarettes where you're like, man, this cigarette's lasting forever and it cost me $30.
That was great. This is a great idea. Can I invest?
Always. Oh, you are my angel.
Oh, yeah.
Investor.
Invest. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So they do point out. So I'm going to spend the rest of this like sort of bringing that back a little bit, dialing it back. The like, wow,
Right.
holy crap.
Good.
Because they point out that like
'Cause I love watching TV. What if I only watch 3 hours a day, which is what I actually watch?
maybe okay.
That's all I needed.
So for this particular study, they were pointing out that like these are estimates, and like the data that they have doesn't allow for like super precise estimates. So this is like it's a rough estimate, and they also, I don't know how they determine this, but they think that the cost or like the life cost of smoking may be underestimated at 11 minutes. It may in fact be worse than that. So this is the part where I'm not going to dial it back.
No, it's worse. It's worse.
So there are a lot of studies out there that are, and like meta-analyses and things that are just finding a lot of associations with like between sitting and like diabetes, some cancers, cardiovascular disease, shorter telomeres or telomeres, I forget.
It's either.
And just like all-cause mortality. And the telomeres one I thought was interesting because that one was only in elderly women, that study, but it was like for people and it was elderly women who were sitting more than 10 hours a day and also not exercising.
Yeah, that's not good.
And they had like cells that appeared older by 8 years than people who were exercising. And in that study, they actually found that if you were getting your 30 minutes a day of exercise, that actually reversed the effect, which like that's kind of a like varies by study, like whether or not exercise affects this or can counteract this. Because a lot of these studies are trying to like account for exercise and saying that like, hey, sitting is its own like really bad thing that you shouldn't be doing. And there's a lot of like associations that show that.
But if I'm not exercising, I'm sitting. Like, to me, there's no difference between, like, those are the two
You could be
potential
standing.
states. Not
Which
me.
is not exercise.
Is it?
Because like, so yes. So usually when they're talking about exercise, they're using the like moderate to high intensity.
Right. Whereas I'm like
activity.
walking around isn't really exercise. Because that's what.
Sure, for the 30 minutes a day, no.
Okay.
But walking is good.
Yes. Well, it's also just makes me happy.
And like all of this stuff, it's all like these are all associations, which is like, it's like correlation, like, because you're looking at like a large population and saying like more sitting, more death, or more cancer.
Right. More sitting, more death.
More sitting, more death. More sitting.
These two didn't join in.
They weren't into it.
This is not a thing that I will campaign for.
Yeah, and so most of the studies are finding that it's an effect that is independent of exercise. But some of them find that you can mitigate the negative effects of sitting to some degree with 30 minutes a day of exercise. And it also may be that there's a threshold for sitting, that like if you're sitting less, like the 3 hours a day, that like that's okay, but once you get to somewhere between like 6 to 10 hours a day, then it's like just bad. Like, and even if you exercise, you can't counteract that, which is like,
Man.
I sit for not all day, but like
Yeah, I feel
I
like
go
I sit-
home,
I
I
feel like I
sit
sit-
at work, and then I go home and I keep sitting. So it's not
You've
good.
got probably at least 7 hours of sitting at work a day.
Plus another 7 at
It
home.
doesn't seem that hard, does it?
Yeah, I feel like what I'm learning, what this main thing that this is driving home to me is lie down more. Because I could totally be lying down all the times I'm sitting. I should be lying down right now.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know if if lying down has the same effect, because part of what they're looking at in like other studies, it's like that like why sitting would have this effect, and like it seems to have to do with like the enzymes that clear fat out of your blood, and like how well you can regulate like your blood sugar is affected by sitting. So like if you sit, they were having people sit for like 9 hours straight, and then using a test that like they basically used to find out if you're diabetic, and people who just sat for 9 hours had like took longer for them to regulate like the blood sugar after eating.
Yeah.
And that was like even if they exercised for 30 minutes separate from that nine hours of sitting. But if they stood up and walked around for a couple minutes every like half hour, that helped. So like breaking up sitting is a good thing.
Well, I encourage
which
you
is
to
not-
do that as your boss,
Okay.
if you can.
I now have a reminder that
Okay.
comes up, but I usually ignore it. so it's not good. And then there were a few studies that didn't find the associations, but those were looking at like there was one looking at 35 to 55-year-old British civil service workers who live in London. And so like it's like smaller and like tend to be healthier populations. I guess in London, like you tend to walk more because of the transit system and stuff like that. But even in those studies, like if you sit a lot and you don't exercise, like that's super bad. It's just that they were finding that if you exercise, that mitigated the effects. But then it's also like unclear whether occupational sitting is bad or if it's just leisure
Just
sitting.
recreational
Yeah,
sitting?
like recreationally watching TV and sitting is bad. So it's like there's a lot of, it's just very hard to come to like a really definitive like conclusion about sitting in general.
Well, if there's one place in science that I'm constantly frustrated with the lack of like clear answers.
Yeah.
It's in health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have complicated bodies.
Yeah.
And even it's strange because even like little simple, like things you should think are simple is just like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's like exercise is bad for you.
I don't think anyone says that.
In preparation for this, I found an article that was like people who are like very high intensity athletes, they get like scarring on their heart tissue. It's permanent and it's dangerous and like it leads to them having premature mortality. But these are people who are like super hardcore, like have been endurance runners for long periods of their life. But they push themselves too hard, and
which is different from like going for a jog.
Yes.
Every
the way that the majority of runners in America are. Which are
yeah.
a lot of them. There's a lot of runners. They got to do it. But yeah, it's hard. Anything to do with humans, like mental health, is also really like mixed signals.
That one makes more sense to me because like the brain seems so unquantifiable sometimes, but it just, a part of me is like in 2017, I'm surprised that we haven't figured out the mechanics of the body.
Just tell me whether or not I can eat butter, and say yes also, please.
I guess part of the problem is that
yes.
You have a hard time even getting people to agree on what the word healthy means.
That's definitely part of it. And like creating metrics for that. And I think like years of like premature mortality is a good way of looking at it, but like also it's, you have to follow people for a long time for them to start dying enough to get good sample data.
And there's so many like
geez, guys, die more.
It's hard to isolate like one thing when you're studying like diets or even sitting, like because like all of this stuff could be confounded by like exercise. Like we don't know how tied together those are.
And you can't figure out everything every person is eating all the time.
Yeah. And a lot of it's like self-reported.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, well, maybe this person isn't standing up because they have a disease that they don't know about. Like they just stopped standing because their
blood cells kept dying.
Yeah, because they have really, really shitty blood cells that just pop open every time they stand up. Oh fucking blood cells.
Sounds horrible.
Get your shit together.
There was one meta-analysis called "Too Much Sitting and All-Cause Mortality: A Causal Link."
I feel like you have been the meta-analysis today.
Kind of. I looked at a lot of studies. But they use the Bradford Hill criteria, which I hadn't heard of, but basically uses like correlations and like tries to look at like size of the association, like consistency, temporal relationship, like a bunch of different things to try to figure out like how likely it is that there is a causal relationship. And their conclusion was there is reasonable evidence of a likely causal relationship.
All right.
So that's what we've got.
So get your ass off the chair. But not right now, though, because we're making a podcast.
Yeah, not right now.
I mean, if you're listening to this on your phone or whatever, just
Right.
go for a jog and keep listening.
Yeah.
Or just stand up and go like look at the flowers. Because it's not exercise, Michael. It's just sitting. Just don't do that as much.
Stand up and order a pizza.
Yeah. Walk to the door.
Take the
pay
pizza.
for it, yeah.
Thank you, pizza man. Or woman. Well, I'm convinced. I'm going to stand up more often. Thank you, Stefan.
Did it.
All right. Well, I forgot. Chief Weapons Officer Victoria Bongiorno, what do you have for us?
Okay, so there is a study that found that 20 minutes of high-intensity exercise changes the way the DNA code is read on muscle fibers. So it made the chemical marks on the DNA disappear, which could lead to changes in protein production. And then, interestingly, they tried like bathing the muscles in caffeine, and which
Wait,
How,
how do you do that?
I honestly don't know. I Googled it and I couldn't figure it
It's
out.
like the muscle, like just in a jar.
That's what I
Stick
pictured.
my arm in a bowl of caffeine. Like,
Maybe. I Googled it. I was like really hoping like Hank would be like, oh, I know science, so that makes sense to me. But like, I have no idea.
Well, it sounds like the muscle may not have been connected to a living organism, which you
Right.
can do.
Yeah, I looked at that too, and it wasn't clear.
Yeah.
So
So you can have a muscle that's like
maybe.
been removed from an animal, not a human, and then you can make it contract and study it
What's wrong
contracting.
with human muscles?
You could also use human muscles. They're just a lot harder to come by. You got to get a dead person, or just a really,
wrong with
really
living
willing
people?
volunteer to be like, hey, I don't need the third part of my tricep. It's going to be a new bicep.
oh, you need that. It just looks all wrong if you don't have that third head.
That made me uncomfortable.
Hey, come on, man. There's 3 heads on your tricep. If you
No,
want a
there's
good,
not.
Like,
I definitely have a max 1, possibly
monocep?
possibly 0.
monocep. It's the tricep.
You want to feel my tricep? It does
No.
not have a lot going on. Sorry, Victoria.
So I feel like you're just proving the point that we could take one of the pieces of your tricep and you won't miss it.
I disagree. You cannot have any pieces of my tricep.
Okay.
I
Guess you don't love science then.
sorry, I don't love science enough. But like also, there's lots of mouse thighs that we can use for this.
Oh, is that what they used?
That's
Mouse
my guess.
thighs?
If they
don't know.
if they
Seems
took,
small.
well, it's easier to deal with.
You need less caffeine to bathe a mouse thigh
guess
than a human thigh.
That's true. Think about the tub you need.
I
of
had imagined
caffeine.
like a steak, I guess.
Right. Well, you need it. You need
The
it to
whole
be
thing,
intact,
not like
so
a
it can
ribeye, but
continue
like
to
a,
contract.
yes.
Yeah. Well, now you're even a bigger animal. You're gonna have to have like a bathtub of caffeine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe that's what they did. We have no
Maybe.
idea.
I don't know.
We're not a science podcast. Oh shit, we are.
Do whales have triceps?
God damn it, Michael. We
Why
got.
did you go to whale?
I was just trying to think of the
yeah,
biggest
'cause, like, they've
animal,
got, like,
and so I thought of whale, but then I was like, do whales
Well-
even have triceps?
Because they don't have like 2 joints.
Do they
right?
have a thigh
in
muscle?
their,
they don't
in their
even-
flipper?
Wait.
It's just like they have a shoulder.
All cetaceans have atrophied tricep muscles and an immobile cubital joint. So they do, but they're not used.
Okay, do they have a quadricep muscle?
Damn it.
I want to know what happened to their legs.
I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
Google doesn't know.
Yeah.
Someone does.
The answer is I got you triceps, bitch. Just calm down and deal. I did so good. Oh, sep means head. That's why you said head.
And try means 3.
I'm there now. I've caught up. I was just picturing like little faces on my muscle. Okay, sorry.
Continue, Victor.
Okay.
So they bathed it in caffeine.
Right.
However they did that.
Right. No one knows. So this released calcium, which is an intercellular signaling molecule. So this tricked the muscles into thinking it was exercising. So it created the same effects that way.
So if I bathe my muscles in caffeine, will I get buff?
No, because you would need a lot of caffeine. Like,
Also, I would need to take my muscles out of my body to bathe them in caffeine.
That the only issue?
Yeah.
Just don't have enough caffeine?
I mean,
It'll probably kill you.
eh.
Maybe.
Well, not if I can just fill my bathtub and just like lay in it for a bit. And then
I think
it's
that
the
might
same as
kill
working
you
out.
if it was a high enough concentration of caffeine. You can definitely absorb caffeine through your skin, and you can definitely overdose on caffeine. But not, I mean, you'd have to like lab grade.
Well, if I don't come in tomorrow,
concentrations.
But you might be like ripped when
my
you die.
bathroom.
But you might be ripped. But you might be ripped when you die, is what Victoria said.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
That's all
As long as I fit in my death suit, which I've pre-bought, which is for a way bigger man, because I'm gonna die big. Okay. Like rock
mean-
big.
They could just put like implants.
Right.
So I have like huge delts in my coffin.
This is this is upsetting.
But then,
Keep going. We'll make it.
okay, there was another study later on that found similar demethylation in DNA, in sperm DNA. So it kind of seems like maybe it would be worth seeing if this appears in offspring.
Oh, so like if you're working, like it's an epigenetic thing where if you're working out a lot, your baby might
Will be buff.
might have better.
Maybe. Like, that has not been
I
assigned.
did actually host an episode of SciShow about this,
about
about the epigenetic
exercise.
thing and how exercise caused a physical change that was then passed on to offspring.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It was long enough ago that I don't remember the details.
Meaning more than a week.
Yeah. You make a lot of side shows.
I mean, even if I had filmed it earlier today, I think I'd still be a little bit like, let's ask Sari.
Do whales have butts?
Like,
What do you mean
glute
by
muscles?
butts? Yeah, like glutes or just like cheeks or like a hole? Like, what are you asking about?
Well, I guess they have to have an anus.
They've got something.
But they don't got cheeks. You couldn't like, because like that's the thing. Like so I'm imagining where a butt would be on a whale
Yeah.
is above the tail,
Oh. I'm imagining it below the tail.
like on the underside.
Yeah.
No,
Where's a
because
whale
my
butt?
butt is on my back.
If
Like
you
if
were
I
to
turned
start
into a
growing
whale,
tail out of your tailbone, it would be above your anus.
Yeah.
right? But if I imagine that my feet turn into flippers, which is what happened with whales,
That's a mermaid, though.
then my butt is on
not a
on the
whale.
back. But then like how did the anus go around the other side of the whale? Because it's not like it's like a second blowhole blowing poo. Sorry, Victoria. What, do you have the answer for my question that has nothing to do with your information?
I don't know. The answer is you became a mermaid, not a whale. So it's irrelevant.
Where do mermaids poop from? Do mermaids have poop holes? Do mermaids have butts? They do have butts. Where does their poop come out, though? What?
Maybe this isn't a problem for mermaids. They're just like, they're fine.
They're magical creatures, so they don't have to shit.
They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but actually, are whale anuses on the bottom of their body?
Yeah.
So like, as
Wait,
the legs
let me Google it.
fused, the anus would have like moved down the body.
To the foot of the front. I guess that's not that complicated.
Well, wait, the legs, you mean, fused.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if over
don't
time
know if that's
you're
The thing.
like, where your crotch
Because,
is
like,
just getting lower on your legs.
I don't know if this is for whales, but don't like sharks, they have like the main fin, but then there's like smaller fins towards the back. Would that be the leg? And then the tail is just like
If you look at a whale skeleton, it has like little vestigial leg
In the
bones that are
tail.
just like in the bot, like they have hip bone kind of stuff going on.
What was your thing about Victoria?
I don't remember.
But the important thing is that I just found whale anus sushi, and it appears to be legit.
How much is that?
Why is there rice around my anus?
Solid Banana was gone for a couple videos.
Oh no!
I was concerned.
Is he okay?
I saw a banana
I think
back.
he's back. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him recently.
Yeah.
He needs a day off.
That
Huh.
gotta be fake.
But what if you bathe that sushi in caffeine?
It's real buff.
It's real.
You don't
buff.
really want to make your anus more buff.
You don't
Kind
know.
of do.
Maybe you don't. Like,
I like, more control of my anus, I think would be better.
Next episode, we'll figure out who goes first based on who has the buffest anus.
Ooh.
I don't want to know what tools are
Who
necessary
can
to
snap
measure
the
that.
most chopsticks? That's not a good idea.
I didn't think it was going to be a good idea, Stefan.
Maybe Victoria should continue and we should stop talking about whale anuses.
Possible.
that's really all I have. So carry on.
So it's the sperm of the people who have exercised. They see the same methylation in the same genes.
Yes.
And for those listening at home, methylation is a way of turning on or off gene expression.
Right.
And we have found out, as we thought that we knew so much about our genome by just sequencing it, we found out that carrying these signals to whether or not to express certain genes is very important and is not strictly genetic, and that is what we call epigenetics. Neat.
It sort of makes me think of, in my
So
research.
you're saying, well, sorry, I'm going to interrupt
Okay.
you by saying just quickly that I definitely messed up my son, who I just had, by not exercising more. So thanks for making me feel guilty, because no one really had done that yet on the show. So
You're
no one's
welcome.
made you feel guilty.
yeah.
You felt bad about the fitness thing, and now about the
I just
parenting
I
thing.
felt
so
bad,
It's a good day.
just
for
sort of bad about myself, but now I get guilt too.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, I'm
What's up,
burping.
Stefan? Yeah, it's okay.
But there was a study that I came across while I was looking at stuff that, like, the headlines reporting the study were all about, like, thinking about flexing makes you stronger.
No, stop. That's mine. That's mine. I'm going to talk all about it.
You guys are holding hands now.
So that's what Hank's gonna talk about.
Yeah. So
It's good I didn't go in that direction then. Okay.
but yes, those headlines are incorrect. But so this study. So here's what the study was. They took a bunch of healthy people, and they put their arms in a cast so that their arms couldn't move for 4 months, and they had half of them. So they also had a control group that didn't put a cast in their arm at all, and then half of the people just had this cast in their arm for 4 months, which is just like, I guess you're paying me well enough to do this, which is remarkable that they had that. But then they, for the other half, they had them visualize using the muscles intensively. So they would coach them. Your hand was cold when I grabbed you. Your hand is very
I'm
cold.
from California.
Do you have
I'm
circulation
perpetually
problems?
cold here.
So they were verbally guided through an exercise, an imaging exercise. And they said, begin imagining that you are pushing as hard as you can with your left wrist. Push, 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 and stop. And then they'd rest for 5 seconds, and they do that 4 times. And so they'd make them like have their left arm immobilized in a cast, just imagining, not actually doing anything in the cast, pushing. And at the end of the 4-week experiment, no, it was 4 weeks. Okay. I was wrong the first time, but thank you, Caitlin, for pointing it out. I was wrong the first time. It was only 4 weeks, which is a lot better than making somebody wear a cast for 4 months for no reason. But it was their left arm, and I imagine that all of them were righties. So at the end of the experiment, they found that the group that had done the mental exercises lost 50% less strength than the people who didn't do the mental exercises, which I was like, holy fucking science. And it does sound like that headline, which is visualizing makes you stronger, but that is in fact not what's happening.
Yeah.
So we think that there's two things. There's like so you imagine like being able to like juggle is a mental thing. That doesn't have anything to do with like my hands being strong. It's like I've learned what my hands are supposed to do, and my eyes and my hands are working together in the right ways. And then you have strength, and strength is about how big my muscles are. And like to get stronger, I have to make my muscles bigger, and to make my muscles bigger, I have to work out. But in fact, there's a separate thing, which is like your brain's ability to coordinate all of your muscle fibers at the same time to do a strong thing. And so I noticed this even in my own like limited attempts of working out, where like the first day I try to work out, I'm like super, like I can't do very, like say push-ups. Like I can do like 5 push-ups. And then the second day I can do like 10. And I'm like, I didn't gain muscle mass. I just taught my brain how to push harder. And it's like part of the reason why your left arm always feels so like weak is not necessarily because there's less muscle mass, it's because your brain is less good at engaging those muscles. And so this study is like totally is like an important study, but like yes, the headlines were all super wrong, and I kind of had to get to the bottom and actually read the article a little bit to get like an understanding of it. But basically it's like there is a huge link between what your brain knows how to do and what your muscles will do, to the point where there's some speculation that nobody can actually push as hard as they can push. like there's enough strength in some of your muscles to actually break your bones, but your muscles will never contract that hard, except in if you're having a seizure, sometimes you can break your own bones, or if you've been electrocuted. Like your muscles will contract so hard, like all at the same time in a way that you could like mentally never make your muscles do, and like break your femur.
That sounds terrible.
As an aside, I've always thought that it's super weird that in your muscle, when you contract, like when I pick up this empty soda can, your muscle fibers individually either fire as hard as they possibly can or not at all. Mm-hmm. And it's just by changing the number of fibers that are being activated that you have varied amounts of strength.
Yeah. So visualizing can help you maintain strength, but it does not affect muscle mass, which is what everybody thinks of when they hear strength.
Yeah. But and I might be diving into bro science territory, but what it makes me think of is that like there is a difference between like bodybuilding workouts and like an Olympic weightlifting workout or something like that, where like with the Olympic weightlifting, like you're doing more of like just using like really high weights, but not doing it that much. But it's like just trying to train like a little bit, just training your central nervous system to actually like know how to produce a signal that can recruit that many fibers or
well,
whatever.
also with like a snatch and jerk, is that a thing? Was that like where you like do the thing and you like get it up on your shoulders?
Well,
and
there's
you push
clean
it up?
and jerk,
and
there's snatch. I don't know if there's a snatch and jerk actually.
Snatch and jerk.
But
snatch
sure.
and jerk is a different thing.
Sure.
That has nothing to do with weightlifting. Where that seems like in large part like that is obviously about strength, but it's also about like getting it right. Getting the thing into the right position,
like the movement,
moving your body the right way.
Momentum.
I've seen too many videos of shoulders.
Oh no.
Not going well
this
in that
is
situation.
not a thing that humans should do, and all the dying blood cells in their hands.
Oh yeah.
And feet.
Yeah.
All the pressure.
Well, the videos that I usually see are the ones where it's like deadlifting competitions, and like mid deadlift.
What's a deadlift?
It's like you're lifting a barbell from the floor to a standing position.
Oh, okay.
And but when you're doing like 600 pounds, like these guys mid deadlift projectile vomit. And then, but they keep going and finish the rep, and it's like it's a common thing.
So do they just
like
put a bucket out in front of everybody?
Yeah, they leave. There's like a splash zone.
I mean,
maybe
it
some
came up as a
ponchos,
Google autofill when I typed in
yeah.
deadlift projectile.
It's a thing, and I'm like, I respect that, but like, I'm not here for that.
I'm turning it away from Victoria because she didn't look excited about it. Oh, this isn't a long video, so it's gonna happen soon. It's gonna happen soon. It's gonna happen soon. It's gonna happen. Oh no!
I'm actually surprised they seat people that close still. Like they know.
I mean, that was pretty bad.
That's not even the worst that I've seen though.
She did it.
But yeah,
job.
I'm just like, I don't have that much commitment. I would put it down.
Right, it's like that picture of that
point.
guy with his he's in a marathon and like his nipples have started to bleed and it's like running down his shirt, and I'm like, what I would do in that situation is stop like 8 miles ago and go get some pasta.
Wait, like some pasta?
Yeah. Just like go to a pasta restaurant and be like, my nipple hurts. Can I have a fettuccine Alfredo, please? The free breadsticks, keep them coming.
You wouldn't just like take off your shirt?
Oh, that's also a good solution. I was like, obviously you just tape your nipples, Hank, and keep going. Come on.
No, pasta. I mean, if I suddenly was in if I got mind transferred to a person who was in a marathon, I'd be like, I would stop. Even though if I was in a body of a person who is capable of doing it, I'd be like, this is dumb. I'm going to that Greek place.
Gonna get a gyro or whatever you said.
My nipples are bleeding. Can I get a gyro?
Yeah, that's good.
boy.
Put that on the shirt.
Our next piece of merch for Holy Fucking Science.
Yeah, Caitlin is the person behind the keyboard, someone asked. Yeah. So if you hear voices in the background of the podcast, that was Caitlin and Lou helping us out when we got stuff wrong, or just giggling silently. What a joy this has been. Does anybody have any more questions about?
I mean, I'm gonna need to look up whale anatomy after this, but
Right. Well,
And
I'm just
mermaid
imagining
anatomy, I think.
There's a sort of genre of fan art where there's like lots of sparkles and shininess, and there's often like prominently displayed like shapely butts.
Sure.
And I'm imagining that but on a whale right now, and the butt is like on the butt where the butt would be if your legs just turned into fins, and it's just like this it's a nice big blue whale with a big shapely shiny butt. That was the immediate image that was in my brain.
I guess I'll need to look into fan art too.
Is this a specific fandom?
Yeah, I'm like,
No, it happens in a bunch of different. It's like it's a.
just Hank Green
I feel like
fans.
lots of different. It's like a style of fan art that goes across different fandoms. I'll find some for you. I'll just type in shiny butt. Fan art.
okay. Oh, fan art. Okay, shiny butt on its own.
Shiny butt would
might
just
not
be
get
shiny
you
butts.
there, yeah.
Like that. Shiny butt.
Oh, sure. Okay,
You know,
sure.
There's just
sure.
like something about it. It's just like there's lots of
Yeah,
butts
yeah,
that are
yeah.
shiny. This one is what is wrong with that dog bug?
What is wrong with that dog bug? As someone who is not able to see your screen right now,
I don't know
I'm
what's going
confused.
on there.
Do you guys?
Shiny butts, though. I got it. I got it.
Yeah, the shiny butt fan art. Gotta get that shiny butt fan art. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the spaceship of butts here at
made
Holy
it.
Fucking Science. You made it through the
Through the away
journey.
mission.
Oh, you did survive.
Yeah.
There were all those shiny butts shooting acid at you.
Projectile vomit?
Yes,
Yeah.
they were deadlifting and
Caffeine baths and
dangerous.
all kinds of things. Yeah.
Caffeine is produced by plants to kill bugs. And that's why it exists. It's an insecticide, and it just happens to make us all jittery.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that's my fact for the day. Aristotle is a dummy. Thanks for listening to Holy Fucking Science. Behind the camera, directing us, we've got Lou Winkler. Caitlin Hoffmeister is helping with sound and helping out the Patreon chat. If you want to hang out with us while we do this, you can be a Patreon patron at patreon.com/scishow. We, all of us are in one way or another have been involved in making SciShow. Today, I have been Hank Green.
I'm Victoria Bongiorno.
Michael Aranda.
I'm Stefan Chin.
And this has been Holy Fucking Science.